Great to see you, everyone. Welcome back to CA Hoops Weekly. I'm Bobby Broyles along with Bill Potter. Before we get to this week's matchups, Bill, let's take one more look back at last week's results as we see a couple of teams putting a pair of winning streaks together.
It was an exciting week last week, and as we near the halfway point, Drexel never trailed in a dominant win over visiting William & Mary last week, handing the Tribe its first loss in CA play. For the Dragons, they're now 5-2 in conference play, the best start for the program since the 2011-12 season. And quick, Bobby, who has the longest active winning streak in the CAA?
I'm going to let you answer that one.
Well, if you'd guessed Towson, you would have been right. After an 8-point win over James Madison, the Tigers won 4 straight games and have built leads of 20 or more points in each of the last 3. And the final game of the last weekend was also one of the most exciting, as UNCW overcame a 16-point deficit in the final 10 minutes of regulation before outlasting Northeastern in overtime to collect its first win of CAA play. And as we turn the page into this weekend, be on the lookout throughout the weekend as coaches throughout the CA will be participating in Suits and Sneakers Week as part of Coaches vs. Cancer. Teams around the conference will be raising funds in the fight against cancer.
A great cause indeed. We got to speak with a pair of Towson student athletes this week, and here's what they had to say about the team's current winning streak. All right, joining us on the line from Towson, we have sophomore guard Alan Betran and senior guard Brian Fobbs. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. How are you?
Doing great, fellas. Thank you for joining us today. Fellas, right now you have the largest winning streak in the conference at 4 games. I'll begin with you, Brian. What has been the key to the turnaround, you being kind of the senior leader for this club?
I think the biggest thing is just us staying connected, us playing defense, playing hard together, just working together as a team. And we have areas to get better in, and I think we'll get better at those.
And, Alan, what was being said in the locker room when this team fell to 0-3? What was the message, after that third loss, and what has been the message since that kind of keyed this 4-game winning streak?
We wanted to just keep at it, We was missing a lot of open shots. That's all we losing. But we wanted to really key in on defense now. So we've been really locked in on defense.
Brian, being one of the seniors on the team, what type of responsibility do you have going into this year, especially being at your last season?
Just trying to be a leader as best I can on and off the court. I know as a senior, this is my last year. And, I'm having fun and the team is having fun. So I guess, really just keeping us all connected, not having any, doubts in our minds or anything like that, just being positive and just keep going, moving forward.
And, Alan, you kind of exploding on the scene this year as a sophomore, a really strong last couple of weeks. Were CA Player of the Week last week. What have you seen that has improved in your game, and how have you stepped up for this team?
Basically just picking my spots, getting to my spots, making plays for my teams, just doing all the little things that help us win.
You can check out the entire interview with Brian Fobbs and Alan Betran now on casports.com and on the conference's social media platforms. Now it's time to take a look at a few matchups coming up this week, and we begin on Thursday night at 6:30 on the CBS Sports Network as Hofstra plays host to Delaware.
Should be a lot of points in this one as Hofstra returns home for the first time since January 4th, welcoming the Blue Hens to Long Island. Both of these teams boast 2 of the top scoring offenses in the CA, with Hofstra averaging over 76 points per game, while Delaware's checking in at nearly 74 points. With that, it's no surprise that both teams feature remarkable balance. Delaware comes into the week with 5 players averaging 10 or more points, led by Nate Darling's 19.4 points per game. Hofstra does the same, with 5 players averaging 10 or more points, with DeJour Bowie leading the Pride with almost 19 points per game.
Also on Thursday night at 7 o'clock on FlowHoops.com and regionally televised on Nesson as Northeastern welcomes Drexel to Matthews Arena.
We touched on it earlier, but Drexel has been one of the pleasant surprises through the first 4 weeks of CA play, with the Dragons' 5-2 start being the program's best since the 2011-12 season, which was pretty memorable up in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Cam Winter was named the CA Player of the Week on Monday after averaging 23.5 points and 4.5 assists last week. Down low, James Butler has recorded 13 double-doubles and leads the country in total rebounds. This game features 2 of the top young point guards in the CAA, as Northeastern's Tyson Walker will oppose Winter. Walker is averaging nearly 12 points per game in his freshman year, while handing out 3.5 assists. And his backcourt partner, what more can you say about Jordan Rowland?
Yep.
He was on fire last week, averaging 35.5 points on the road, and he set a Trask Coliseum record with 38 points.
Moving on to Saturday at 4 o'clock on FlowHoops.com as Towson hits the road to take on William & Mary.
You know, even though the Tribe dropped its first CAA game last week, William & Mary enters this week in first place as we near the halfway point of conference play. The Tribe has been running some of the most efficient offense in the country, keyed as always by Nathan Knight. Knight is one of 3 players in the CAA averaging a double-double with nearly 21 points and 11 rebounds per game. Now, Knight's one of the main reasons, along with Andy Van Vliet and Luke Lowy, that the Tribe rank in the top 40 of the country in both 3-point and 2-point field goal percentage. Towson comes into the week as the hottest team in the CAA, as the Tigers have turned an 0-3 start in conference play into a 4-3 record heading into this week. Brian Fobbs and Alan Beatrand have keyed Towson's turnaround, with Fobbs scoring over 20 points in 2 of his last 3 games, while Beatrand is averaging 14 points per game while hitting over 40% of his 3-pointers.
And we wrap up with the Saturday contest at 4 on FlowHoops.com as Hofstra wraps up the weekend at home against Drexel.
You know, this one could go a long way towards determining tournament seeding as Drexel and Hofstra come into the week tied with identical 5-2 CAA records. Again, we're going to see 2 of the top point guards in the conference as the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in DeJour Bowie will be tasked with slowing Cam Winter, the reigning Player of the Week. The senior and the sophomore enter the week tied for first in the CAA in assists, each handing out over 5 per game. And in the front court, the matchup between James Butler and Isaac Conte should be fun. Conte is hitting over 64% of his attempts this year, the best mark in the CAA, and Butler's just been a low down low, averaging 12.5 points and 12 rebounds while shooting over 51% from the field.
Now here's a look at the rest of the upcoming action around CAA men's basketball. The Colonial takes over the Capitol. Join us March 7th through the 10th at the Entertainment and Sports Arena for all of the action and excitement in Washington, D.C. as 10 CAA teams battle for a berth in the NCAA tournament. CASports.com will have all the information you need this week regarding links to live stats, video, and audio coverage.
You know, and as always, you can continue to follow the league on Facebook and Instagram by searching CAA Sports. We're also on Twitter at CAA Basketball using the hashtag CAA Hoops.
The CAA on-campus crew was in Philly last week at Drexel. You can revisit their trip on the CAA social media outlets and tune in this Thursday to CASports.com for a feature on the Dragons.
We've touched on him a few times already, but James Butler comes from a basketball family as he's a second-generation player in the CAA. His father actually played at the Naval Academy in the 80s, and James is following a similar path now at Drexel.
The on-campus crew will be back at it again this week at the College of Charleston. That is it from us today. Enjoy the games, everyone.